What's going on, sports fans? It's another edition of the Between the Tackles podcast. I'm Joe, Manish, and Burge alongside as well. Absolutely loaded pod as usual. We have a little bit of shuffling in the rankings. We have people strategizing against other people instead of going with their gut in the pick segment. We have a lot to get to, but first thing first, I care about my friends, so I'm going to ask them about their day and how they're doing. Friends, how was your day and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be talking some football, especially after that Monday night game. That Monday night game had everything from physicality to the Patriots and Drake May just chef's kiss, baby. How you doing, Manish?
I'm doing great. I love December football. The weather gets cold here in the Northeast. This is when you separate the Fugazi teams from the real contenders. So, the next 4 weeks of the season are going to be a lot of fun, a lot of tight divisions, hopefully a lot of exciting football starting on Thursday night.
Well, you said December is when we separate the real teams from the Fugazi teams. Turns out that the Patriots were the first team to get a win in December. So I love where your head's at, Manish. I absolutely love where your head's at. I think we're going to hit it hard and hit it early. But I think we should just jump right into the pick segment. There's a lot of news to go on with these teams that we're going to talk about regardless. I'm just going to kick it off here with a team that I've been on for a little bit and a player I've been on for a little bit. We've got the Bears at number 5. I think after 13 weeks of the season that they've earned a spot in the top 5. I think they're crap. I had it in front of me and I don't. I think they're 9-3. I think they're the number 3 seed in the NFC. What do we got, Bears? Number 1 seed. They're now the number 1 seed after this weekend in the NFC. I don't know, dude. Ben Johnson had an absolutely electric post game with his team, ripping his shirt off in the locker room, like ironically ripping his shirt off in the locker room because he's not the most fit guy. I thought that was awesome. I could really get behind that. Caleb Williams went from being a little bit of a disaster last year to, he's not an elite quarterback, but he's not turning the ball over at a high rate. He's making smart decisions with the ball. The team's moving the ball and scoring points. And is there any other objective for a quarterback that leading an offense than to score points? So the Bears, I think they have a little bit of a test this weekend going on the road versus the Packers. We'll talk about that game coming up in a little bit. But I think the Bears have finally earned a little bit of our recognition, and coming in number 5, I think they've earned it. Let's just put it that way. Burge.
I just want to say, I was a week ahead on this. I had them at 5 in our discussion last week. Manish, let's hear it. Give Burge the credit. I was on it.
Look, I got to be honest with you. I did not take the Bears seriously entering that Black Friday game in Philadelphia, but they clearly proved that they are going to be in it for the long haul. Whether they wind up with the number 1 seed, whether they win the division or not, that remains to be seen. But if they can run the football with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai anywhere close to the way they ran it against a relatively stout Eagles defense, they're going to be a problem when the playoffs roll around. And Joe, I totally agree with you. Caleb Williams has made a significant leap in his first season with Ben Johnson. He still has plenty of flaws in his game, but if that run game is going to be the centerpiece of that offense moving forward, then they're a team that needs to be taken seriously when the postseason rolls around.
And what I will say, dovetailing off that, Manish, you made me think of it, is like when they get the run game going, like Caleb Williams is one of these guys who he's a little sporadic when it comes to like post snap and stuff like that, but his like pre-snap and like mechanical stuff, like how he like moves and like his play fakes are excellent. So I think that coupling him with Ben Johnson, I think Ben Johnson is one of those guys who sees what a player does well and then harps on that and exacerbates that to make it more of a positive for the team instead of a positive for the player. So I think getting the run game going, leaning into Caleb Williams, throwing into larger windows. I think there was it was a stat. I don't have it in front of me anymore, but it was his large window stats where Caleb Williams has the highest percentage of throws into completions into a large window. So I think that is 100% because of Ben Johnson. It's not like they drastically overhauled the personnel at the pass catchers or anything like that. It's not like they drastically overhauled really anything on the offense. The only thing they really did was implement a play caller who knows what he's doing, and I feel like they're just reaping the rewards of that right now. But that's enough about the Chicago effing Bears. Bears, who's number 4?
So this team is a team we had a little bit higher last week. They dropped to number 4. It's the Denver Broncos. Still a team that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. The only reason they are not tied for the number 1 seed or the number 1 seed in the AFC right now is because they have played less games than the Patriots. Their team, kind of like the Chiefs last year, they continue to win these tight 1, 2, 3-point games. I don't know what the exact number is, but it seems like every game that they've played so far has been, it's at least been a 1-score game, if not, within 1 or 2 points. And that's what happens when you have such an elite defense. And their defense in the playoffs, when it comes time to go there, if they end up with the number 1 seed, we talked about it a little bit last week. It's a place, Mile High is a very difficult place to play. Obviously, you have the altitude going on there. Couple that with a defense that is among the best in the league. It's a team you're not going to really want to be playing with, come playoff time.
Now, Burge, I agree with most of what you said, but dude, this game really, I mean, against a Commanders team that is banged up to all get out. They don't have their franchise quarterback. They have a retread. He's like, Mariota's like the retread you find at the salvage yard for like Aunt Sally's 98 Corolla that she only drives to church on the weekends. Like you can't win a lot of games with Mariota. And they took them to the brink, dude. They were going for 2 to win the game. So while I do agree that the Broncos defensive unit is probably the best in the league, it is an elite championship Super Bowl caliber unit. I just think that, like, dude, when you play a bunch of games like they did the other night and they're on the field for 80 plays, I think they were counting it on Sunday Night Football how many plays that they had. So I just think that I agree, top 5 team. I agree. I think they've won a bunch of games they've won a bunch of their 9 out of the last 10 games. They have. I'm starting to fall out of favor with the Broncos as a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
I'll just say this real quick. The Chiefs are the prime example of this last year, and now they're seeing the other side of it this year. But the Chiefs team that we saw last year, I think we can all agree was one of the down teams of the Chiefs as far as their run goes with Patrick Mahomes. And they got to the Super Bowl winning these tight, close games against opponents they shouldn't have been in it with. But Broncos weren't what they were last year. And it took a missed field goal or a blocked field goal at the end of the game to beat their division rival there. And they end up going all the way to the Super Bowl. Now they got waxed in the Super Bowl by the Philadelphia Eagles, but they still got there out of the conference. And I think all 3 of us can agree right now that the AFC is completely wide open when it comes time to the playoffs. There's no clear-cut favorite in the AFC. All these teams have some sort of flaw or some sort of weakness that can be exploited by a team in the playoffs. And if you're having to go on the road to Mile High in the playoffs through this, not to mention Denver getting a bye if they end up with the 1 seed, that's a scary situation to be in for any of these AFC teams, going down the stretch into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, Burge, you hit the nail on the head. And I might have to backtrack of what I said last week when I claimed that, or maybe 2 weeks ago, when I claimed that the Patriots were not Super Bowl contenders. I just don't think, given the fact that the Chiefs and the Ravens are on the outside looking in, I don't believe that there's a team to beat. Maybe it's Denver, maybe it's New England, maybe it's Indianapolis, maybe it's somebody else. But on any given week, any of these teams could win. I could see a 5 seed. I could see a 6 seed even getting through to the Super Bowl from the AFC. And you're right, Joe, that the Broncos do have a Super Bowl caliber defense, but they need to get some help on the ground for Bo Nix. You cannot have Bo Nix throwing it 45 times as he did the other night. RJ Harvey has been thrust into the lead role now that J.K. Dobbins is out. And I know that he scored 2 touchdowns the other night, but he averaged fewer than 3 yards a carry. He hasn't had that one game where he's getting 4.5, 5 yards a clip, which is what Dobbins was doing when he was healthy. So if they're going to be a one-dimensional team, for as good as their defense is, I don't know if that'll be enough to carry them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I just don't. And I think the Bo Nix experiment is only going to go so far. I don't know. He's the classic guy where you watch 60 minutes and 55 minutes are what the MF is this guy doing, and the last 5 minutes are, wow, is this Jesus Christ in a football uniform? Like, there's no in between. There's no mediocre check down. It's just balls to the, which I kind of respect, but I just don't think you can sustain. Like you said, you win so many one-score games like the Chiefs, and now look at this year. Now they're losing a couple of those games, and everybody falls back to earth a little bit. So, Manish, you want to hit us with number 3?
Yeah, number 3 is one of the 3 9-win teams in the NFC West, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. And you guys know that I have really been high on Seattle for much of the season. I'm not sure you can take much, however, out of these last 2 games. They beat a Titans team, which is in line for the number 1 overall pick, and then they just completely throttled and shut out a Vikings team last week with Max Brosmer at quarterback. So while their defense looked intimidating, they were going against an undrafted rookie making his first start. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. Sam Darnold, frankly, hasn't looked particularly sharp in the last 2 games. Maybe it's just a little hiccup in the road here. I don't know if you're going to get much out of this upcoming week when they play the Falcons. They likely should beat them. But in 2 weeks, they will play the Colts. They also have 2 more games in division with the Rams and the 49ers. That's going to be a fun division to watch in December. But you got to give them credit, and they're deserving of being a top 5 team. I just don't know if I've learned that much from their 2 wins these past couple weeks.
I don't think you learned anything about the Seahawks this last weekend. They played a quarterback from New Hampshire. I am a New Hampshire boy.
Me too.
I lived in New Hampshire for 20 years of my life. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and college in New Hampshire. Like that, I was born in Massachusetts, raised in New Hampshire, like everybody else. Like, sue me. You didn't learn anything about the Seahawks. I think they're a formidable opponent. The reason I have them and we have them ranked over the Broncos this week, in my opinion, and I think they're just a more well-rounded team. Is their defense to the caliber of the Broncos? No. I still think it is a high-caliber top 10 defense, and I think they have one of the best offenses in the league. I think they have one of the most balanced attacks in the league. They have a couple good running backs, and Sam Darnold is playing really well. So I think when you couple all of that together, maybe they're not – I don't think they have the ceiling as the next 2 teams on our list. But I definitely think that, like, balance-wise, roster-wise, and how they're playing right now, I definitely think they're deserving of a top 3 spot.
Yeah, Joe, I think you kind of nailed it on the head there. And I just want to throw this out there. I toot my own horn for being ahead on things. Manish was ahead on the Seahawks probably a month ago. So I got to tip my cap to Manish. I rag on him a little bit for bashing my stance when I'm ahead, but he was right on it. And when it comes to the Seahawks, when you compare them to, again, the Broncos like Joe just did, there's just more of a ceiling with that offense. There's more talent on the offensive side of the ball up there in Seattle, and their defense, they have a defensive-minded head coach, and he has the defense playing fantastic. You can say you didn't learn anything against the Vikings. It's still very difficult to shut out an NFL team on a weekly basis, no matter who's playing quarterback against you or any situation. And they accomplished that at home against the Vikings last week.
He was throwing the ball when he was
it doesn't matter.
Away from the line of scrimmage.
It doesn't matter. It's still
extremely
difficult to shut out a team in the NFL. It's extremely difficult to do it. I don't care about that.
I agree.
Don't care about that.
Because they also have like a 2-headed monster in the backfield, decent tight end, 2 really good wide receivers. So, like, who's to say they couldn't just chuck one up and get lucky? You know what I mean?
They still have one of the best receivers in the league in Justin Jefferson.
Totally agree. I'm just giving you shit, which is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I know it is. And I always take the cheese.
Oh, dude, it's okay, dude. I'll keep setting the trap, baby.
Yeah.
You know what wasn't a trap? Monday Night Football for the Patriots.
Get it out, baby.
Our number 2 ranked team in the league. Burst, can you tell me who the number 1 seed in the AFC is?
The only team in the NFL currently with 11 wins.
Burge, can you tell me who has a number 3 point differential in the league?
The only team with 11 wins.
Can you
New
tell
England
me one
Patriots,
more
baby!
time? One more time. Who does the odds-on favorite for the MVP play for?
The New England Patriots. That's my voice getting high because of how pumped up I am.
I don't know how you couldn't be feloniously, like jailably, offensively horny about this team if you're not a Patriots fan. It is the. I'm going to start with the negative, and then I'm going to build towards the positive. This team can't run the goddamn ball. Holy crap, do they suck at running the ball. Can't run it between the tunnies, can't run it in the end zone, can't run it on the goal line, can't run it at midfield, can't run it inside, can't run it outside. They suck at running the football. That's a huge flaw. That's really bad. And I think if you put a gun to my head, I think that is more of a detriment to their success and their Super Bowl chances than their weak schedule and who they've played so far. But let me get to the positives. Drake Maye does not look like somebody who's making their 21st start in the NFL. He just doesn't. Like he looks, oh, wait, it wasn't his 21st start. It was his 24th start in the NFL. Yeah. He making his 24th start in the NFL. He looks poised. He never looks flustered. He always looks prepared. Him and Josh McDaniels are on the same exact page. And when you couple that with the fact that they have half of their offensive line out. They have they have their second most prized possession on defense, Milton Williams, out. You have guys like you have rookies playing at safety, rookies and second line guys playing at safety. You have Harold Landry playing hurt. Caleb Chasson's banged up. You have a guy, Luther Durden, who got cut from the Giants in August, starting on your defensive line next to Christian Barmore. Like, this team is just the championship pedigree I see outside the numbers and the flash. Drake Maye, best arm talent since Aaron Rodgers. They've got talent all over the field. They got Kyle Williams, 31-yard touchdown catch. They've got guys everywhere. Yeah, they got guys everywhere. But the thing is for one time, this team came out shot out of a cannon. That's the one thing we wanted to see this year. Can they get off to a good start? Did you watch the game? Christian Ellis was shot out of it. He was a human cannonball. They just set up a net out of the Meadowlands to catch him after he was shot out of the cannon. And every one of those Giants fans that I mentioned saying that it was a dirty hit, get out of bounds, dude. Get out of bounds, dude. You're the smallest guy on the field. You're trying to get an extra yard. It was second down. You have another play. All right, but I digress. This team is well-rounded besides the running game on offense. They have Carlton Davis finally coming alive in this game. I loved Christian Gonzalez on the other side, having a couple hits in the backfield, a tackle for loss. I don't know. I am so fired up about this team. Their ceiling is insane. It might not be this year, but going forward, the ceiling is just going to track whatever Drake Maye does. And as of right now, it looks like the sky is the limit.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head on a bunch of points there. Drake Maye, I think, has the NFL record for completion percentage for quarterbacks' first 25 starts at like 69%. And for me, like, the throws that he's still consistently making. And again, you could say what you want about the opponent and where the Giants were, like where they are. They got the interim head coach. You know, their star running back out, their star wide receiver out.
Dude, if you've looked at their last 7 games, dude, they've beat the Eagles. I think it took 32 points from the Broncos to beat them. I think they beat the Cow. Like they're a terrible team. But nobody has done to them what the Patriots did to them on Monday night recently. Sorry, Bruce.
Well,
I'm fired
before
up,
you
dude.
stole my thunder on that point there, I was going to say that this is a team that is a week removed from taking the Lions to the brink, who we've been very high on now. The Lions also have their share of issues, but we've been pretty high on them this year. And they took them to the brink, and they ended up blowing the lead. And they've blown a number of leads to teams this year. And like you said, Joe, this team finally showed up right out of the gate. I don't know if I've seen this defense play as physical as they were on Monday night all season. I feel like it was the most physical performance. Obviously, you know, Jackson Dart getting absolutely belted on the sideline was unbelievable. And yes, it was a clean hit. Yes, he needs to get out of bounds, especially coming back off of a 2-game absence.
My 100-pound fucking pit bull on the couch after that. I form tackled him, dude. I was so fired up after that hit. Football,
this-
dude. That was football.
This game had a lot of everything. It was nice. We obviously, the Patriots, first quarter, they come out, they play great defensively as well. It had physicality. It had one of the worst missed field goal or unsuccessful field goal tries that I've ever seen. You see the memes going around, but it's true for me. It looks like me on a golf course on the fairway, trying to put the ball on the green, chunking the grass before hitting the ball. It was, I don't know, I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, perfect time to go into the bye week. Perfect performance. Again, doing what they needed to do against a bad team. You can't control your opponent. They came out, they dominated this game, and there's not going to be enough Crisco left in the world, Joe. There really
There's
isn't.
a shortage. There's a shortage after what
There
I
really
did to
isn't.
myself at midnight Eastern on Monday. I was sliding across my kitchen floor like Gary the Snail, dude. I was so fired up.
All right.
I
All right, all right.
Denise, take us down. Take us
Can I
down.
just
Take
put-
us down a
I just
ball.
Okay,
all right,
look,
go for it.
you guys know how I feel about how the Patriots have performed. I don't really care about them beating the Jets or Burrow less and Jamar Chase less Bengals teams, and then obviously a Giants team that fired their defensive coordinator a few weeks after firing their head coach. What I am, however, interested in is how they come out of this bye, because right out of the chute, they're going to be playing a desperate division team in Buffalo. We already know that they beat the Bills earlier this season. So that is going to be a very fun matchup. And then after that, another traditionally good team that is now desperate in the Baltimore Ravens. So these next two games after the bye are going to be very fun for me to watch. If they come away with 2 wins, even though the Ravens may be looking on the outside looking in, and the Bills are a little bit down from what their preseason expectations were, those would be 2 high-end wins in my mind. So I want to see how they play over these next 2 weeks. They finish off the season with a couple cupcakes in division, Jets and Dolphins. I don't care about that, but I do care about how they perform in their first 2 games coming out of this bye in Week 14.
They have the opportunity to clinch the division against the Bills. They can clinch the AFC East if they beat the Bills.
And I think outside of the playoff implications as well, I think it's interesting to see what the Patriots do after a long layoff, because after the Thursday night long layoff before the Bengals, they came out flat and they really weren't sharp in that Bengals game, almost let it slip away. So I think having those full 2 weeks off with the bye week instead of the 10 days might be a little bit different, or might exacerbate the problem. So I think along with how they perform against the Bills from a seeding and divisional and AFC seeding standpoint, I think it'll also be interesting just to see how the team does off a long layoff after not doing great the last time they had an extended layoff. All right, let's put the cap on the Crisco jar here. Manish, you want to take us to the top spot here?
Yeah, look, we're going to keep the Rams at the number 1 spot. It was not a unanimous decision among the 3 of us. And when I say that, I mean I was the only one who wanted to keep the Rams at the top spot.
Disavow the last.
Not Joe. Don't even.
I
sent the screenshots of every other power ranking out there, ranking the Pats number 1. Didn't mean I wanted to rank the Pats 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why this podcast is good. We don't really care what other websites say about who's good and who's not. We kind of formulate our own opinions, which is what's intriguing and interesting about this podcast. What I will say about the Rams is they laid an egg, specifically Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, in line to be the MVP, whether it's him or Drake May or somebody else. We'll see how the December unfolds. But clearly in that discussion, he had 25 touchdowns, no picks over an 8-game stretch. They were absolutely on fire. And yes, he somehow managed to throw 2 interceptions in the first quarter against the Carolina Panthers, including a pick 6, by the way, when he had thrown 2 interceptions up to that point all season, which is an anomaly. I think we would all agree that's not the norm for how Stafford is playing this year. I don't discount the fact that over the last several weeks, they've beaten 2 9-win teams in Seattle and San Francisco. They have been tested this year. They have beaten good teams throughout the course of this season. And even though they took a step back at Carolina, I still wholeheartedly think that they are the best team in football. This one loss doesn't change that. Now, if things go awry this week in Arizona, obviously they'll tumble off the top spot. But one loss one blip on the radar on an otherwise incredible season to me does not change the fact that if the Rams play anybody in the NFL on any field, home, road, neutral, the Rams would be favored and they would probably win.
I agree. I think the Rams are a more well-rounded team than any of the team that we have in the top 5. I think they next man up in the backfield. I think Stafford's allowed to have an off game. I think the Panthers are frisky. I think they're a different team than when the Patriots played them in the beginning of the year. I think they're. I couldn't justify moving the Rams off the top spot because I think the column that has them in the top spot is a lot taller than the column would be to take them out of the top spot. I don't know. You got anything on them, Berge?
I'll just say I'm the one that wanted to dethrone them, but I will also say that last week we did talk about this on the podcast where we said it would take more than one loss to truly dethrone the Rams off our power rankings. And you bring up the point about the Panthers. I think this game says a lot about what the Panthers are trying to do down in that NFC South. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday when we recorded. That team is going to be a real frisky team. Bryce Young has been playing very well for them, and they seem to be on a little bit of a momentum run here to challenge the Bucs for that division title down there. And I think it's going to be a fascinating watch down the end. I think the Rams are also the most complete team when we start talking about and trying to pick apart flaws with these top 5 teams. I think we just got done talking about the AFC, how it's so wide open. There's so many teams you could argue that one team would beat another on any site on any given Sunday. And in the NFC, I don't feel that way when it comes to the Rams. I think based looking at their schedule, they do have some interesting matchups down the stretch with the Lions and the Seahawks. But other than that, their schedule is kind of, they got the Cardinals twice and the Falcons there too. And I fully expect them to at the end of the season end in the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Bearish. Hit us with the spreadsheet.
Oh, are you ready? Are you ready for the spreadsheet?
I was born ready for the spreadsheet, dude.
All right. Well, pretty successful week last week, outside of Manish. But Manish did get his lock right. He did get his lock right. I can't talk my lock. I was the one that had the Bears as my lock up until we decided to record, and I changed it to the Falcons, and I'm kicking myself for that because that was my only loss of the week. But where we sit going into week 14 in terms of our records, Joe and Manish are now tied with the same record, 17, 21-1. And I am at 21-18. So even if I go 0-3 this week, I will still be sitting atop the leaderboard next week. But I'm really curious to see where we end up coming down the stretch here. Go ahead, Joseph.
I have one thing to say before we get into the segment. You should have to kick the extra point after you win in overtime on a touchdown. That's it. That's all I want to say.
They used to do that. Didn't they used to do that? Remember the Patriots back in the 90s? The Bills didn't come out for the extra point, and they went in for 2 points at the end of the game because the Bills were like they won at the end in overtime and they walked off the field. But yeah, I think they should too when it comes to gambling.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Just saying. Kick it.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna start off. You know me, Manish. I never gonna pick the Buffalo Bills to win a game. I'm taking the Bengals plus 5.5.
9-4, dude.
I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow plus 5.5 on the road. The Bengals are coming off a big win in Joe Burrow's return on Thanksgiving night. A win that, given how the rest of that division played out, has the Cincinnati Bengals suddenly having a shot at the division title there with the way the Steelers lose, the Ravens they beat the Ravens. That division's suddenly wide open. And Joe Burrow has had success playing against the Buffalo Bills up there. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals defense, we've been kind of hard on them quite a bit over the course of the season. Statistically, they're still not a very good defense, but over the last couple of weeks, they have played much better. They played the Patriots well, and obviously they played and contained with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens last week. I don't know if that says more about the Ravens or the Bengals, but I have the Bengals, the way that their defense has played over the last couple of weeks, maybe getting a little bit of a boost from Joe Burrow returning. Obviously, they have Jamar Chase back last week as well, and the offense seemed to really work once Joe Burrow knocked quite a bit of the rust off. So give me the Bengals plus 5.5.
Love this pick.
The next pick I'm going to go with, I'm going to pick against a team that got shut out last week, and the Vikings. I'm going to take the Washington Commanders. They're +2 playing the Minnesota Vikings on the road up there in Minnesota. And I liked what I saw from the Washington Commanders last week when they played the way they played up in Mile High in Denver. They, like Joe said, they took them to the brink, a 2-point conversion away from walking out of there with a win. The Vikings are a mess. We've really ragged on them this year, rightfully so, for their decision to let Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold walk at the end of last season to kind of hedge their bets on J.J. McCarthy, who seemingly hasn't really been able to stay healthy throughout the course of this season.
They did not hedge a single bet on J.J. McCarthy. They went all the fucking – sorry.
You're right. You're right. They totally did, because of what we saw with Max Brosmer last week. That's their backup right now because Carson Wentz is hurt. And it's a shame for the Vikings because they have so much talent on that offense. They just have the critical position on the field, and quarterback, they don't have it. And I fully expect the Commanders. I mean, Marcus Mariota has looked really good playing in the place of the injured Jaden Daniels, and getting +2 with them. I like that. I like their odds there. Now, my lock of the week. This is going to be a fun one because I'm picking against one of the co-hosts on here. I'm taking Jacksonville +1.5. They are home underdogs against the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts have not looked right over the last couple of weeks. They dropped their last 2 games, albeit against 2 I would argue, quality opponents. We'll see what the Chiefs are at the end of the season to really say that, but they still do have one of the best quarterbacks in the league in Patrick Mahomes. But they dropped that game, and then they dropped the game to the division rival Houston Texans, and suddenly that division, the AFC South, is insanely competitive with the Jaguars and the Texans. And Jacksonville has played extremely well over the past couple of weeks. They took care of business against the lowly team in that division, in the Tennessee Titans. But they're on a 3-game win streak. I'm kind of like Joe. I do like home underdogs when I'm making my picks, and I like what Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen are doing. I was kind of bullish on them at the beginning of the season, where I was kind of like not really buying into it. They've shown me something over the last month, and the Colts seem like they're on a downward trajectory. You contain Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor doesn't score a touchdown. Usually doesn't bode well for the Colts. If they're able to do that, I think they're gonna win this outright down there in Jacksonville as a home underdog. So those are my 3 picks there. Joe?
All right, we'll start up in Green Bay, where I'm picking against the Packers. I'm going to take Bears +6.5. We let them into the top 5. I think they have a lot going for them. I do not trust this Packers team. I think I made the analogy a couple weeks ago on the podcast, but they strike me as that hot rod that you just can't get right. You fix the carburetor and you don't have the freaking fuel mix right. You fix this and the timing belt. I have no idea about cars. You can tell that this is going so bad. But like, I just do not trust the Packers. Everything the Packers aren't, the Bears are. Like, the Bears are like quasi-talented, but they don't have like an overly impressive roster, but they're all kind of pulling in the same direction, really getting behind Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. So, I mean, getting almost a touchdown in a divisional game, I'll take that anytime, especially when it's the number 1 seed in the NFC going against the person who's or the team that's second in the division. So, give me the Bears +6.5 over the Packers in Green Bay. Next one, I'll take the Texans in Arrowhead against the Chiefs +3.5. I don't know. I haven't been over. I mean, the Chiefs, when they win, it's completely ugly. I think the Texans are one of the best teams at playing ugly games and winning ugly. We've talked about championship caliber defenses on this podcast a couple times tonight. I don't know if you can talk about championship caliber defenses in the league this year and not talk about the Texans. I think they're the perfect formula to get to Mahomes. They can get home with 4, they can drop 7 and still pressure the quarterback. I think that's a perfect formula to beat any elite quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much more, and there's a lot of stats to back it up, but this is kind of a vibes pick. I think the Texans are on the way up. I think the Chiefs are kind of plateauing. Maybe I don't want to say on the way down, but I think they're plateauing a little bit. So I don't know. I like the Texans plus 3.5 in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. Then for my lock of the week, we do a lot of picking. We do a lot of hater picks on this podcast. We do a lot of picking against teams. And this is exactly what I'm doing here. This is a viewer discretion advised pick because I do not advise anybody to watch this game. If you watch this game, you're going to want to stick a fork in your eye. But yeah, I'm going to take the Dolphins minus 2.5 at the Jets as my lock of the week. Dolphins are 3-0 in their last 3, 4-1 in their last 5. The Jets are off a sugar high last week, beating Atlanta. So, yeah, I don't have a single stat to back this up besides the Dolphins are hot and the Jets fucking suck. Like, there's not much to this pick. It's less than a field goal to cover on the road. I think Mike McDaniels went in there and he was just like, guys, I can't buy cool pants and sunglasses if I don't coach this team anymore. So you guys need to get your effing S together, or I'm not going to have any hair gel, cool sunglasses, or pants to wear. So figure it out. And they have. Like I said, 3-0 in their last 3, 4-1 in their last 5. I like the Dolphins as my lock, minus 2.5 in the Meadowlands versus the Jets. Manish, what you got, bro?
Well, I'm going for my first game to the standalone game on Thursday. I'm going with the most dangerous team, perhaps, in the NFL right now. I'm sorry, guys. It's not the New England Patriots. It's the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Getting 3 points in Detroit. They've been on an absolute heater the last 2 weeks, beating both Super Bowl participants from a year ago. And look, maybe Drake May wins the MVP, or maybe it's Matthew Stafford, or maybe it's Dak Prescott, who has been on fire this year, but under the radar. Now that the Cowboys are winning games, he has a legitimate stake in the MVP race if things continue throughout December. 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, sterling passer rating. He is playing his best football in years, and the Cowboy offense looks unstoppable. Perhaps more importantly, this Cowboy defense is a very different unit than it was at the start of the season. They were banged up, ravaged with injuries, a lot of new faces coming in healthy, a lot of new faces coming in through trade and other acquisitions. This is a formidable team. And when you look on the other side at Detroit, they've been on a seesaw for the last 2 months. Win-loss. Can't get any rhythm going. Losing at home on Thanksgiving to the Packers. I think they break this seesaw by losing a second consecutive game. Right now, the Cowboys look like an unstoppable force. I'm not betting against them, especially if they're getting points. In my second game, we go down to the AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts will be traveling to Jacksonville, where they have not won in their last 10 meetings. That's right. They have not won a game in Jacksonville since 2014. So what am I going to do? I'm going to naturally lay the points and think that the Colts will win. I'll go Colts minus 1.5. Yes, they look like they're leaking oil, losers of 2 straight. And yes, the Jaguars are trending in the opposite direction, winning 3 in a row. Both of these teams have a legitimate claim, along with the Texans, to win the AFC South. We don't know what's going to happen among those 3 teams. It's going to be a tightly contested race. I just don't think the Colts are going to win, or lose, I should say, their 3rd consecutive game after starting off so hot. The Texans bottled up Jonathan Taylor last week. I don't think Jacksonville will do that. I think you'll see the Jonathan Taylor that we're used to seeing this season. And remember, the Indianapolis Colts are 7-0 in games where Jonathan Taylor scores a touchdown. I think they're going to make it 8-0 because I think he's going to find the end zone at least once. And my lock of the week, we go up north to the AFC North. A battle of supremacy between 2 underwhelming 6-6 teams, the Ravens and the Steelers. Personally, I think both teams suck this year. However, I think the Ravens will suck less this weekend. The Steelers will likely be without Aaron Rodgers, who did not practice on Wednesday. And even if he does play, who knows how healthy he'll be. He wasn't healthy going into last week's game against Buffalo. He got throttled, injured, came back. I just don't know what version of Aaron Rodgers we're going to see. And even though Lamar Jackson has been underwhelming, especially as a runner as of late, I do think that being at home will help them. Laying 6 points is a big line, but I just don't see the Steelers going in to Baltimore with a severely banged up Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph and coming away with a win. I think the Ravens control this game, and I think they remain atop the AFC South. No lock they'll win the division. As you said, Burge, the Bengals are lurking, but I do think for this day, Baltimore will triumph and cover the near 1 touchdown spread.
Dude, and I think friggin' DK Metcalf hasn't had over 50 yards receiving in his last 6 games in a row without like under 50 yards. Something crazy like that, dude. That Steelers, and then it was the Steelers haven't had completed a pass of over 20 air yards in like 2 months. They're over 13 with like 3 picks in the last 2 calendar months of downfield passing. So I don't know how. That's another one of those pick against the team instead of on the team, right?
Yeah,
definitely. Because again, Ravens have had a really underwhelming season. Hard to pick them, but I just think that the Steelers are in such a bad place. And when you get to the point where Steeler fans are chanting "Fire Tomlin," you know things are ugly because he's as well respected as any coach has been in this generation.
Yeah, we talked about it before the podcast, but part of the thing that endears me to Mike Tomlin is that there's no like filter or anything. There's no like BS at all. Like he is so matter of fact. They asked him that after the game. They were like, "Hey, every single one of the 60,000 people who paid money to be here wants you to no longer coach their football team. How does that make you feel?" And he's like, "Dude, I totally agree. I suck tonight." And I just thought it was so funny, dude. It was too good.
Real quick to just close out the pick segment. This is the week of the underdog. We got 6 of 9 picks as underdogs. I'm picking 3. Joe's got 2. Manisha's got 1.
Dude, got 2. I've got 2 underdogs, and all 3 of my teams are on the road.
Yeah, I mean, I picked all 3. I'm riding the underdog train tonight. So we'll see where the picks line up. I know Manish's got a chance to at least get one up on me because we picked against each other. So we'll see where the standings last at the end of week 14. Manish, I think you might have some sleepers for us. You want to give us some?
I do. I have 2 fantasy sleepers. I'll give you one for Thursday and for Sunday. That's how confident I am. The Thursday one.
This podcast has it all. We have it all.
I am super confident in the Thursday one. The Saturday, Sunday one, maybe. Thursday, rookie wide receiver on the Detroit Lions, Isaac Tesla. He scored a touchdown last week after Amon-Ra St. Brown left early and did not return. It does not appear that St. Brown will be ready to play on Thursday against the Cowboys, opening the door for Jared Goff to look to 2 people through the air. Jameson Williams, who also lit it up on Thanksgiving, and Tesla, who, if you guys remember, was a darling in the preseason, made some incredible catches. Just a promising young player, and now that he has the opportunity, I think that he could do some damage.
He had that crazy catch week 1 too, right? Didn't he?
Yeah.
He had a nasty catch on week 1 too.
Yeah, love him. On Sunday, I'm going back to the Jets. Well, why not, right? You got 2 receivers that are going to get the ball.
Well, yes.
Yeah, and I think I may have gone down this well a few weeks earlier, or maybe Burge did. Somebody did. Adonai Mitchell. Last week I said John Mechie. Not that great of a play. Adonai Mitchell coming off a 100-yard game, touchdown. Why not? The Dolphins stink. Tyrod Taylor's got to throw the ball to somebody. It's going to be either Mitchell or Mechie. This week will probably be Mechie and not Mitchell, but I'm going to give you Adonai Mitchell. But regardless, Isaac Tesla, that's the guy to get this week. He's going to make you really, really happy if you do.
All right. Well, I think that's enough sleepers for the whole podcast. You pick a Jets sleeper, we might have to shut the whole thing down, dude. But That's another it's another loaded podcast, dude. Yeah, tune in next week. We got 2 podcasts a week from now on. We're going to be releasing on Monday and Thursdays. So tune in. We'll catch you next Monday. Goodbye.
Goodbye.